There's a plane going by. Come on. I love doing book videos so much because I have a small channel, but my channel average is probably 60% women, 40% men. But when I do a book video, it's like 93% women, 7% men. And that's kind of the dream. So I love them even more. So hello to my ladies. I have some books to talk about. So today I have 6 books to review. These were pretty much the books that I read this summer. It was very much girls books. And I am so excited to talk about them. So the first book that I read was called Before We Were Innocent. It follows 3 girls who I believe are fresh out of high school going into college, and they're on their Euro summer Greece girls trip, and one of them gets murdered or killed. She gets killed. And it becomes this worldwide news. All of a sudden TMZ is talking about them, and they're just really scrutinized by the public. And as they go into adulthood, they kind of think that they are past the tragedies, and then something else happens that kind of sucks them back into this world. It was a really good beach read. It wasn't like incredible, but I did kind of eat it up. Thrillers are meant to just be something that you read really quickly and you're really into the story, and they're not like super, oh my god, this is life-changing. They're just a fun time. If you just want like a quick, fun, well-written kind of hot girl thriller, this is perfect. And then up next, I read Circe. And this is one of those books that you're supposed to like analyze and appreciate, and it's literature. This is a retelling of Circe, who is a mythological figure and part of Odysseus's journey. It follows her from childhood all the way up to being an adult, and her main catalyst in her story is that she is basically exiled. So most of this book is her just being exiled to an island, and then as the story goes on, there are more people who kind of wash upon her shores, and that's where most of the story progresses and the actual interesting parts of this story. I have really mixed feelings about this. It was a little bit slow, but it was beautifully written, but I had a lot of issues with the actual themes of the story and what its actual message was. From the first page, you see our main character have a lot of compassion towards the people around her, and of course she's a god and she's doing it towards mortals, and the gods don't like that. But it really felt like the main character never caught a break, and time again she was just punished, and people were just walking all over her. And even the ending of it felt so just not satisfying. It felt like nobody in this book ever respected her once, and she was just okay with that. So I didn't love it. I still read it. It was a great story, but I think I understand how some people could find how resilient she was very inspiring, but that's not how I want my main characters to be. This is a very femme book, and I like it when my very femme books, the feminine characters are just strong, and they're strong, and they're strong, and they're strong, and fuck you, and they're strong. And this was not that. This was like, people are doing things to me, I'm taking it, and because I'm taking it, that makes me strong, which I don't really agree with. So I don't regret that I read it. I just finished it and I was like, this is the like girl boss book that everyone was so excited about. Like, it left me kind of sad. And I think that like everyone should read it. I understand why it's so appreciated and people like it, but I was just like, come on girl, like burn down a building or something, like do something, do anything. Because right now you're doing things, but it's not as empowering as you think it is. So this was Circe. Again, super beautifully written. It was one of those books where you underline a bunch of stuff, but I feel like there are better books that have not as questionable messages and main characters that I root for more. If you like this book in this kind of vibe of like stoic female stories, I think you would really like Lauren Groff. And I think that's why I dislike this so much, is because Lauren Groff writes just the most strong, stoic girl boss books ever, and I am just so obsessed with her. And she writes those characters that I want, where they're strong female characters that are just like, fuck you, I'm strong, fuck you, I'm strong, fuck you, I'm strong. There is no trampling on them. They don't allow for that, and I appreciate that. It doesn't feel as much of like a victim complex as this book does. Yeah, I feel bad for bashing on it. It was still a great book. Like, it's one of those books where like you can't not appreciate it literally, whatever. You can't not appreciate its writing, but I can have qualms with the messaging. So that was Circe. I'm sorry, don't hate me please. After that, I read a book called The Sender. I read it on my Kindle, so I don't have a physical copy, but again, I love this book. I think it was a debut novel from the author, and at times it read like it, but it was a very good book. It was about this woman who joins a very mysterious language learning program, and to sign up to this program, it's very exclusive. It costs a lot of money. It's very secretive. They take all of your electronics. They cut you out from friends and family for 3 weeks, and you go to this very secluded center where you learn a new language. And of course, it's spooky ooky, it has weird vibes, it's definitely, I think it's classified as a thriller, but it wasn't like twists and turns. It was one of those books where it's like, oh, this is creepy, oh, this is creepy, oh, this is creepy, oh, this is creepy. And it wasn't like, oh, she's running away from the killer, oh, there's twists and turns. It was just the suspense kept building. It was just overall a good book. I like the musings on translation and learning languages, and the author spoke many languages, so she had a lot of really cool perspectives of how different words can't be translated and how different things exist in different cultures simply because they have the word for it, whereas we can never understand certain concepts. And it was just a nice book. Again, I feel like it was just like an easy, quick, fun to digest read. I wasn't highlighting things in the way I was highlighting Circe, but it was just a fun time. I liked it, and I would totally recommend it. And when this author comes out with other books, I'm definitely gonna pick them up. It was just a good, fun, turn off your brain book without being like completely brain dead, hard to commit your time to. And then after that, I read The Virgin Suicides. The Virgin Suicides, for those of you who don't know, is a classic. It's hard to talk about the book without giving up a lot of it because it's one of those books where not a lot happens. So if I were to explain any of the things that would happen, it's basically explaining the entire book. It follows these 4 sisters, and it is a character study on all of them. And it's a very voyeuristic book about growing up as a teenage girl. And basically the entire town is watching them because it's this group of very beautiful, untouchable sisters. So when I first started reading it, I didn't love that it was written by a man because I was very excited about the themes of it, but from the first couple pages, I was like, that's not how women work, and I was getting all like, oh god, it's gonna be one of these books. And then I realized that he will never write from the perspective of the girls. He was writing from all these little boys and the moms and the parents and the people around these girls, and his judgments and his views of them weren't accurate to what was happening, and that's part of what made the book so good and what just kind of escalated the stories, because basically the entire book is just people passing judgment on them. It was a great read. Again, it was super slow, but I understand why it's a classic. There's so much that you could just analyze in it, and even if you don't take the time to analyze and you just read it for the story that it is, it's good. It's so good. I'm super happy I read it. It is one of those books that will sit with you, and I understand why it's such an important pop culture piece of media. I read The Virgin Suicides, loved it. And then the next book that I read was Bonjour Triste. And I think it was Dakota Johnson that spoke about this book first. And I am so happy that I read this. The book was originally written in French and it was translated to English, and it follows a 17-year-old girl on summer vacation with her single father. It was always just her and her father. Her father is a womanizer and a bachelor, and he's charismatic and he's fun time. He has a villa, and he's just a very careless person. He gets involved with this kind of love triangle, and our main character just applies the things that she knows about love and her priorities to a very adult relationship and starts meddling in it. Things just kind of spiral out of control. I cannot believe that this was written by a 17-year-old. It is just so clear the thoughts that she has and the ways that she's speaking, and it's just so beautiful. It's one of my favorite books I've read this year, if not my favorite book. There's something really special about it, and I finished it and was just obsessed. And then the last, like, I'm like blushing thinking about it because I'm so excited. The last like 5 pages are all of these quotes about the author. It's labeled what the paper said, and it's all of these news publications of when the book came out, just ripping into the 17-year-old girl. I am obsessed with it. It says that she was denounced by the Pope because she knew too much about sex. Times said that she failed her second-year exams and decided to write a novel. A radical right-wing politician petitioned to have her guillotined because of her lifestyle and the things that she wrote about. He also asked the French Ministry of the Interior to have her banned from all casinos. A priest refused to officiate her first wedding because of her books, which he considered immoral. A famed Roman Catholic novelist said the book was clearly written by the devil and it did not harm its sales. This book wasn't that bad. She literally just did it with her boyfriend, and that was the only scandalous thing in this book, other than her dad being a womanizer. But it really was not that bad, but the entire back is just all of the issues people had with her. And it's because this book was written, I believe, in the 40s or the very early 50s, and she was so young when it was published in 1955, so she was heavily scrutinized more than probably if an adult wrote it, but it was just such a good book. I really highly recommend any of the girls to read it because I think you will fall in love with it. If you're into that like E. Babbitt's, Joan Didion kind of vibe, may introduce a new girl to you. And then finally, very different than that, I read an Agatha Christie novel. This was in the little library by my house, and I was kind of in a reading slump, and I just wanted something that was just like a good book. And I mean, she is the 3rd most sold author ever behind the Bible and Shakespeare. So I thought that there must be something good about it. And it was a good book. For those of you who don't know, she writes these very good mysteries. Just a very classic whodunit. She writes these casts of characters, and you have our main character, which is a investigator, a detective, and he kind of just goes down the line and gets everyone's testimonies and hears what happens. And then he starts kind of piecing things together, and you can kind of solve the mystery along with him. I love talk of the scenery and just the characters, and it was a fun time, but oh my god, did I hate the ending. I kept waiting for it to be this like incredible twist, and it was this one person, and the way that she wrote the ending, I'm not gonna spoil it, but I was just not satisfied even a little bit. Give me the juicy stuff. It was still cool, like I understand why she wrote it, and she was like, yes. But to me, I was just like, why did I even read this book? So I'm definitely going to be reading other books by her. There's definitely people who will see the twist at the end and be like, whoa, this was incredible. I'm not one of those people. I was just really pissed off. In my head, even though she didn't leave it very open-ended, it felt so open-ended to me. If you're very sensitive to books that leave things open-ended, don't read this one. Read one of her other ones, because it was just bizarre, the ending. But overall, it was a good book. I read it in like 2 days. I thought that it was going to be very like old school how she wrote it, but it felt very modern. I wasn't like looking up words or rereading sentences. It was overall just a fun time. It was literally the last 5 pages where I was just like, why? So those are all 6 books that I read this summer. Overall, it was really good. Like most of the books are over a 3 or 4 stars. Like they were good. I just am judgmental and I like talking smack, so sue me. Let me know if you read any really good books this summer. Let me know if there's any books that you think I would read. Let me know if you thought the same thing about Circe and also the Agatha Christie book. Yeah, thank you so much for watching my videos. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you guys soon. Bye.